Welcome back to Sci-Fi Fantasy Read Along. We are here for episode 8?
9.
8.
8.
8. There are only 9 episodes in this season, and this is the penultimate. You like that word, right?
Oh, I love penultimate.
It's a great word. Great word. Anyway, this is the penultimate episode. We will be covering today chapters 42 to 45. Do you guys have anything to say for yourselves before we get rolling?
This was a shocker. It was a shocker. I was shocked when I read this. I was surprised, and I like being surprised. Do you know what I mean? Do you know when you anticipate exactly what's going to happen, and then it happens, and then it's like, well, I knew that was going to happen. But I was surprised when I read this.
Okay. Yule?
No. I enjoyed what I read, and I don't know how this is going to end up. That's really, like, there's a lot after reading the 45 chapter that has to get done. And the reality is that even when that happens, oh my goodness.
Well, there's more books to go, so I don't know how much he actually has to wrap up in this book.
Well, that's true. It feels like there's going to be a cliffhanger of sorts.
Yeah, Yule brings up a good point. It's that I think the climax was the battle at Juniper, and now it seems like we're building up to something again, but there's not that many pages left. So what are we building up towards?
I don't know either. I do know that during this set of chapters, it was revealed that Yule, I believe it was Yule, was correct about something he had surmised. Now, that could have been based on the fact that I'm pretty sure you read this book before, right?
No, I haven't.
No? Well, congratulations. You made an amazing guess. You got it. You nailed it. Boom.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about what I think we're talking about, I was just, too much care.
It was a month ago.
Too much care and effort had been taken into, or had been put into it for something not to happen the way I want.
Yep.
Or the way I was expecting.
I know. We'll get there, and when we do, we'll give you the golf clap.
All right, golf clap.
Good job,
Good
Yule.
putt. Par.
We'll do it then.
We'll do it
then again. Okay, so let me see. This set of chapters threw me for several loops. I got confused. I started reading pretty early in the morning, and I don't think I woke up today for many hours, and that's abnormal. I had my coffee like normal. I had my normal routine. I started reading the book. I started underlining, and then halfway through the day, I was like, I have not formed any memories today. Something was up, it was a little bit odd. So I had to go back and start over. Whatever. It was good times. This is nice, good stuff.
We've actually had a couple weeks to read this since we had some time off. Well, some of us had a couple weeks.
I sort of do it at the last minute because I want to be fresh,
understood. But I mean, I have preparations that I make from the last moment that we record an episode till the next moment we do. And kind of reading it and glossing over it and then going back and reading it and maybe rereading it and listening to it. That didn't really happen since I knew I had so much time.
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when that happens. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is going to be like Empire Strikes Back right here. That's what I think.
Well, I don't get it.
Well, it ends, but we know that there's more to do.
Yeah, Han Solo got frozen.
Yeah, exactly.
And
if Luke Skywalker loses a hand, did Darth Vader get a handy? Is that what that's called? When you take someone's hand off? What's that called?
Dismemberment.
The look on Yule's face is so good right now. All right, chapter 42, Medenville, the refugee. So Shed begins hearing alarming rumors within a few hours of the Black Company's arrival in Medenville. Juniper is in desolation. The Black Company has been run out, crushed by their masters.
So this is where Shed this is where he's going to set up home, I guess, is what he plans on doing.
He does, but instead, for now, he's going to hide. He's going to hide for an entire day.
Yeah.
And then he's going to set up his home.
Well, yeah, that's right. So he's laying low. He's not sure if the Black Company's in and out, if they're running from, the lady and the Taken, then they shouldn't be here long, and hopefully they're not here to look for him. So he's going to lay low, and he's going to play it cool. But I mean, staying in one room for a while has got to stink,
One day, you could do anything for a day, man.
Oh yeah, trust me, I can stay in my room for days and be happy. I'm talking about hotel rooms, and I kind of figure that's what he's doing. But
yeah, probably. But I mean, when you're worried about what's going on out there, that might be
better
hard.
not to be on the street.
Well, that's true too.
Well, he's got a little bit paranoid that he thinks this all might be a ruse for the Black Company to flush him out. Which I was like, he's just being paranoid. I mean, he's not that.
That is paranoia, because that's an awful lot of effort to track him down. But at the same time, it's not beyond the pale.
It isn't, considering the level of effort that
Bullock went through.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But Bullock is, I guess, morally and ethically driven.
Right. Poor Bullock.
I think it's hilarious.
It is funny, but that guy has just gotten the short shrift. Every time he's gotten short shrift.
I think it's hilarious that, was it Kingpin set him up? Yeah, funny.
We can talk about him in a minute. There's some funny stuff there, too. All right, so Shed hides for a day, but he's finally determined that he's safe, so he comes out of hiding, and he starts resuming his search for a business partnership. He wants to buy into a tavern, something that he's familiar with, sticking to his strong suit or whatever. And so he's on his way to go and meet a potential business partner, when in a narrow alleyway, he sees something out of the corner of his eye and could swear that he heard his name.
Spooky.
He coward Shed, who has shown signs of manliness from time to time, actually goes over to the alleyway to check it out.
Sort of.
He knocks somebody over.
Well, he gets scared
alarm,
at first, yeah, but
and then helps them up, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know what it is, but he convinces.
He knows what he thought it was.
Yeah,
I know what he thought it was.
Well, tell me, because Philip didn't.
Oh, come on, Philip, you know.
Well, I know what it was. It was a bag.
Tell me.
It was a toothless bag lady. It was a creature from the Black Castle.
The Black Lagoon.
I literally almost said that. It was a creature from the Black Castle. He thought, and I was like, but then because that one got away. Got away, and it came here. And he's like, whatever. He didn't really get a positive ID. He barely saw it. And then as he's walking along, he convinces himself that it was just his imagination.
It was just his imagination, just like he convinced himself that he was safe from the Black Company. He goes about his business. He enters the Ruby Glass and visits with a man named Selkirk. So their discussions are fruitful, and Shed goes back to his hotel to sleep for the night. So the following afternoon, Shed and Selkirk are planning their partnership.
Yeah, they are. And Selkirk tells Shed, night business will pick up when the scare is over.
What scare? What are you talking about?
The scare is that citizens of the town have gone missing.
What?
Not a lot.
It's not the kind that normally go disappearing.
Right.
The ones that get shoved into press gangs and sent to work. It's different people. Like, okay, so it's acceptable for people to get press ganged. This is bullshit.
Yeah, but it happens at night, and when I read this, I was like, holy S-balls! Holy S-balls! That thing is here, stealing people, and we know why!
And we just saw the guy, and now Shed is no longer so convinced that it was his imagination. He's like, I have to go now.
He's like, he actually talks out loud about, oh my goodness, this is what happened in Juniper, in front of Selkirk, who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he says that this is how it all started in Juniper. There was a nice line there that Glen Cook gave us. He said it was like the passage of snakes, which I think does a really nice job of reminding us that the Dominator's sigil is the snakes. We think it's the sigil. And then, of course, his creatures were snake-like in character. Delicious. Delicious. All right, so Shed kind of wanders out in a little bit of a daze. He says, we have a deal, don't worry. We'll get it all taken care of legally. There's just something I have to do first. But we're good. We're golden. Bye-bye. And he's back out on the street.
Oh, yeah, but he was, in his internal monologue, he's sure that what happened to Juniper is going to happen here, too, but a lot faster because they're collecting live people.
Yes, they're actively collecting for themselves, too. Very scary. Shed decides he has to investigate this. And I'm like, wow, Shed, good job, man. Way to go. And he starts by figuring, well, Asa knew where Raven died. That's a good place to start. But Asa's back up in Juniper, or maybe he's dead. The Black Company might have killed him. So the only person that I know who knows where I can start would be Bullock. Okay, I'm going to go talk to Bullock. So he does.
Who's in prison right now.
He is. Well, I think it's logical to want to go talk to Bullock to either get some intel, get some information, bounce some ideas off him. But Shed has this idea that he wants to go to where Raven died. And I didn't see the point in that.
I don't really know why he wants to go there. It's convenient for the author. I understand that, but I didn't really understand why he wanted to go there.
Well, there is a conversation about Shed cleansing a soul, if you will, or getting the dirt, the stain of what he's done. Redemption.
Yeah.
And, going there, seeing what happened, he knows those things are out there, and he heard about Raven. I guess he just feels like connecting these dots that may or may not form a picture.
Well,
maybe he doesn't know where else to begin.
Maybe that's so. True. Well, I completely agree that Shed may be motivated to redeem himself, especially after how things went down in Juniper and everything you've heard about the destruction. But I have a hard time buying the strong-handed means by which the author is dragging us to Raven's resting place. It seemed a little heavy-handed, and I didn't buy it. I mean, if I was an investigator, I don't know what I would get by going to see where he died. What's that going to tell me? Nothing.
I do know that I had no problem with him going and talking to Bullock.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So if Bullock had made the suggestion to start out there, I'd be like, perfect. That's awesome. That's smart. Bullock is smart. But Shed, I don't know why Shed wanted to go out there.
Yeah, that was thin.
It doesn't matter. It's still a good story. We love you, Glenn. We love you. All right, so Shed turns that corner and he decides to go and investigate. And he brings forward the Shed that killed Craig, and he lets him drive. Right?
Yeah, he put on his game face. I like this part, by the way.
So Shed talks his way into seeing Bullock. He doesn't really remember how he did it, but we know he's a pretty good liar. And he got in, and he's there in front of Bullock, who's a little bit rabid when he first sees this guy. He's like, oh, I'm going to send you back to prison. As soon as I get out of here. He's never getting
Shed has to speak hard truths to Bullock because Bullock is concerned still about Juniper. And then Shed tells him what, if the lady wins, like it looks like she did, she's going to be looting the catacombs also. And there's going to be it's a free for all in that city after that.
Open rebellion.
Yeah.
Rebellion.
Well,
she will quash, which means no more Juniper.
Well, right. that last thing you mentioned is kind of like the last thing that drove Bullock over the edge to commit to helping Shed, because he only halfway believed it until that point, or he believed that Shed was sincere in his efforts, or in his. Sorry, my kids. Bullock was sincere in his belief that Shed really wanted to redeem himself, but he didn't buy all this other nonsense that Shed was talking about. But when Shed mentioned that the lady was going to loot the catacombs, boy, he changed it on a dime. But yeah, I like that interaction quite a bit because Bullock just wasn't buying it. I mean, on a barely superficial level, he was buying it, but not really.
Well, how about this? I have an idea.
I mumbled a lot. That was a lot of mumbling.
Let's go over all of the things that Shed says.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
One at a time, as it were. So, Shed wants to know where Raven died. This guy won't know. Bullock wasn't there, right? In the first place. Bullock was almost killed by Raven, and then Raven and Asa ran off. So Bullock only knows approximately where that happened and could give details about where to go, but no further, right? So Shed is asking for that location, and Bullock is like, why do you want to know? And Shed's response is that he thinks that the Dominator gave a seed to Raven, and the seed it's the same thing that happened in Juniper. it's going to happen again here, and maybe it's already happened again here, and maybe that's what killed Raven. So I think that's why he wants to go out there, but I didn't really get it until I thought about it a lot. Right?
I think that was a huge leap of logic.
For me, yeah, no, it's hard to use my brain.
Not you, Shed.
For Shed? Well,
Shed's
except
no
for
dummy.
the fact that he was responsible for having built the other castle. Yeah. Well, him and Raven. Mostly Raven. He's taking a lot of responsibility in these chapters that we're reading right now.
He's got the bad feels for the garbage he did. Yeah.
You know, he's prior to this part where we're reading, he's talked about, or it's been talked about, that he's homesick. Anytime he thinks about, you know, his home, you know, he might not have had, you know, been alone. He was a loner. He was a loner, but he was never really alone. Exactly.
Right.
And you know, he's got I think, like, it might be a leap to get him to where Raven died, but it does make sense. And since he has an interaction with the castle, with the people that, you know, took the bodies and everything like that, he has a relationship with them. I think seeing this out to the end makes sense, and going where Raven died, it feels like, you know, this is a Horcrux. Is that what they call it?
J.K. Rowling does. I don't know who else does.
I'm just joking. This is just a meetup place, obviously.
That's not a Horcrux at all.
I'm sorry. I don't know what
I think maybe a crux, but I don't think that's the right word either.
No, I said the wrong one.
You did.
I didn't imagine it would be put in anyway, so.
Well, it might go now, but it might also stay now because it's getting funnier as the minutes go by.
Well, I've never read the Rowling stuff, so.
Well, you know. Bullock has nothing to lose by giving this information to Shed. So he's like, all right, I'm game. I'll give you the information that you want, but you got to get me out of here.
Yeah, you think he's even really thinking that he's going to do that?
I don't think he asked for that. I think Shed offered to help get him out of there.
Yes, okay. You're right. I got these things backwards because I didn't put spaces between my notes this time around, which is my mistake, and I'll do that later.
And
no, he gives him the information, but then he says, maybe if you do all this stuff, maybe then I won't drag you back to Juniper. And that's when everything is revealed about there may not be a Juniper.
Yeah, there won't. There isn't Juniper. Yeah, Juniper. There is no Juniper.
That's just a guess, though.
I agree. I put that in my notes.
It's just a rumor.
Well, regardless, the laws of Juniper won't stand the way
not if the
Bullock
lady's
thinks.
in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Things are gonna change, Bullock. All right. So if there's no Juniper and the ladies looted the catacombs and there's all-out rebellion, Philip was correct. Like, that triggered Bullock. He's like, okay, here's everything, and he explains in detail how to get out to where he had the fight with Raven. He's like, those Black Company bastards set me up.
Yeah. 12 miles down the main road and then a farm track for another 6 miles.
It's a long way.
18.
It's a long way. Doesn't matter. It's a long way.
Yeah, 18 to 20 miles. That's a good hike.
Remember, he's a hound dog. You know, he followed them out there and he almost paid with his life. All right. So don't forget me, Marin Shed. That's what he says. My trial is like the first week of next month or something. Don't forget me. And I'm like, Shed's going to forget him. Better not, Shed.
I'm sorry, at this point, why would Shed even bother?
I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Like, who knows what he thinks of as redemption?
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
I got to change this thing up, but that's okay.
No, that's a good point. That may be, he's screwed over so many people in his life, and most recently that maybe he feels like saving one person, even an enemy, is a step on the path to redemption.
And maybe also he feels like he should be punished, so maybe saving Bullock will see him to be punished, and he deserves that. You never can tell. It's more Dostoevsky kind of stuff where you set yourself up for failure so you will get what you think you deserve. Anyway, sometime later, Shed is leading a rented mule, down what is barely a game trail. He's gotten so far off the road, this 18 miles down the road business. He's gotten so far off, there's no sign of people. It's like man has not touched this land. It's so remote. And he's like, why were Asa and Raven out here? doesn't make much sense. And he almost stumbles into that clearing.
Oh, no, I get it. Why? Shed doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it right now, so reveal it when he gets
no,
it.
That's not,
because that's when it's revealed in the book.
No, it's not that at all. No, I was like, Shed doesn't get why Shed does not get why Raven was going way out in the boonies like this. And he's like, why didn't he just take the main road, the Shaker Road, to the town of Shaker? And I'm like, well, because that would be obvious, and that's exactly where Bullock would go. So you go off-road to not get caught. So, to me, that would made sense. You don't take the obvious route because the obvious route will be watched, monitored, and tracked more easily.
Well, he is a city boy, which is revealed to us in this very section when he almost stumbles into that clearing. So maybe he thinks the most direct route is faster and therefore better. I don't know. What's in the clearing?
It's a big black lump. About the size of a house. Is that what it was?
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
He could see the... What was it? He could see the faces of the people that helped create the size and mass of this thing.
They were added to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the missing people from Medenville.
Yeah.
About
and remember,
Houseworth.
It took the first Black Castle 300 years to get to its present size, and this one is like growing like an out-of-control cancer.
Because they're gathering live bodies and bringing them here probably all the time. Probably all the time.
That's nuts.
So he circles this thing to get a good look of it. And I'm like, dude is brave as hell.
Dude, I'm thinking, Shed, get out of there. That's what
Get
I'm
out of there,
thinking.
tell everybody.
He's
Get
like
out of there and tell everybody.
circling the whole thing.
He gives it a little walk around. He's like, oh, it's just like the other Black Castle. It's going to be identical when it's finally finished tomorrow.
Well, I thought about that, but at the same time, he had gone up to the Black Castle so many times that he might have been a little desensitized to it.
But he doesn't want to be meeting up with these people now, though.
But he does have that pendant, so he questioned at some point in these set of chapters, I don't remember when, he questioned whether or not that pendant was actual protection or if it was just a promise. So he may feel like he has some protection against them. And he hasn't done anything to act against them yet. So what do they know? What do they care? He's here to help.
Yeah, I thought the scary part for Shed was actually leaving the city and going to the wilderness, because that part is scary. But once you get here, on some level, I felt that he probably has some sort of umbrella protection from, I don't know about the black creatures, but the black house, the black cat, whatever it is right now, he would warrant some protection. I didn't feel he was threatened here. I thought he would get maybe mauled en route somehow, but...
Well, as he's circling the lump, as it is referred to by Mr. Cook, he stumbles upon some bones. And he looks down at them, and then he tries to recall the prayer for the passage of the dead from his childhood, and he begins to sing the song.
Poorly.
Yeah, whatever.
I know.
He's tone deaf. Nice. It's like Philip singing.
Really?
Philip, sing us the prayer for the passage of the dead, Philip.
No, don't do that, please.
Oh, the devil in hell, they say he was chained there for 1,000 years. He remained. He neither cussed nor did he moan, but he decided to start up a hell of his own. See, pretty good.
Yeah, see what I mean?
Pretty good.
Tone deaf.
That was good.
That was good.
Hey, well, you see, he knew. Yes, he found bones, but these are Raven's bones.
That's what he thinks, yes.
Yeah, it's his clothes, it's his stuff, it's everything he owned. This is Raven. Nothing but bones. And he said part of the chest is missing.
Right.
I interpret
Scavengers.
Scavengers. Exactly what I thought, but this is Raven. And I'm like, dude.
Which is why he sings this prayer for the passage of the dead.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, he reminisces that he was scared of Raven, probably more scared of him than anybody, but also it was probably his best friend. He kind of taught him to be a man, to stand up for himself.
He said he taught him to think like a man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. He's been referred to as a prince of hell. What? What does it mean to think like a man? I'm going to take these bodies and make money. What does it mean?
I think
he stood up for himself a number of times. I mean, just getting
Raven
into that
teach
prison
him to do
came
that?
from that.
Did Raven teach him to do that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I think
explain yourself.
All right, so he put him. Raven put Shed in many dangerous situations. Probably the worst of them is that, he's taking him up to the Black Castle to,
and teaching him to be a man.
No, it's just, it's not that good or bad things are being done. It's that Shed stuck up for himself. And I think he took
Raven's attitude.
What would Raven do is what Shed kind of was living.
Okay.
And
okay.
I think that's what they're kind of getting at.
Yeah.
What would Raven do?
I
like it. I like it, Yule. That's nice. That's real nice. I'm going to ask myself that from now on.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see if these are his bones or not.
When somebody shortchanges you $1 at the grocery store, yeah.
What would Raven do?
Well,
Shed is singing his song when a hand lands on his shoulder and he hears his name uttered behind him.
Marin Shed.
Chapter 43, Medenville, Warm Trail. So the night after investigating Raven's ship, Croker again dreams of the lady. Why did you abandon me, she asks.
Yeah, so they're communing in his dreams, I guess. Although,
yes, seems like it.
Although he'll say, he kind of, when he's referencing it, Croker in the in his writing, he doesn't know if he was awake or not during this time. He kind of talks about going back to sleep after talking to her, but he doesn't know if he was ever really awake. And I like that he, it even takes him a second to remember the conversation after he wakes up for real.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it's a similar format as previous visitations, so I took it to mean that he wasn't really dreaming; it was actually the lady.
And he hasn't had one of these since the last book, if I'm right. It was the first
8 years ago.
Yeah,
8 years ago or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. This interaction is completely different. The lady seems like a normal human being reaching out to a.
She seems vulnerable a little.
Maybe, yeah.
Yes, but Croker thinks to himself that she fooled the Dominator, and I'm easier to fuddle than he would be.
I like that, yeah. he does think that, yeah.
Yes, he does.
But she asks him. She stops short of begging, but she asks. She doesn't order. She asks him to come back. She asks him twice.
She asks for the company to come back, and Croker says, "We're too tired. We're too old. We're sick of war. We can't come back." And she says, "Well, what about you? I need your pen." And he basically says no.
He says that they won't stand against her if she won't stand against them.
He felt like he was proffering her something. And she's like, you either stand with me or you stand against me. There is no
You're not
between.
Switzerland, buddy.
Yeah.
There is no Switzerland in this. You're either with us or against us, which is I don't know, it's a famous World War II thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Just, we'll take your coins too, though.
So we find out that the plot against the Black Company originated with Whisper. Her and Feather were planning to wipe out the Black Company, but she says she would not have allowed this to happen, that they are her preferred tools. She likes them. She wants to use them. She wants them to come back.
I'm sorry, her chosen instruments.
And not only that, doesn't she say that Croker is like her mayfly?
Uh-huh.
I like that.
What do you think that means? I mean, that's a short-lived creature. It lives one day, mayfly.
Well, yes.
As a flying entity, it lives for one day.
Well, I would assume that the lady lives so long that the lifespan of a human is like that. And humans live a lot longer in this book, it seems.
Yeah, but, even from our perspective, a life is relatively short. 70 or 80 years, it may seem long while we're going through it, but it's not that long.
Well, I'm basing it off like One Eye being over 100 or something like that.
He's well over 100.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been with the company for 100 years.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, she lashes out when he turns her down once, he turns her down twice, and I think maybe he turns her down 3 times, and then that's when she actually gets angry and lashes out, which, to Yule's perspective, is she's emotionally vulnerable and she wanted some sort of human connection, and she feels that with Croker, and Croker just said, "No, I'm on my own."
No, he's with the Black Company. They're gone. They're not turning around. They won't stand against her if she doesn't stand against them. They can't be neutral, blah. So the dream ends, and in the morning when he wakes up, he doesn't remember his dream quite right away, but as soon as he does, he heads to the lieutenant and he tells him everything. She won. She defeated the Dominator, and she's coming for us.
Yeah, and Lieutenant's like, well, we got 4 days to get this thing going.
Four
they even
days
ask
because
why.
She no longer has a carpet, remember?
Sure thing.
This is weird, but I actually feel relieved that she won the battle.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Of course you do. Of course you do. She hasn't... Okay, I don't care how much of a blackguard she is in actual fact. What we have seen of her has been fairly reasonable and not entirely evil. You know, her actions, her activities, like what she's engaged in, has been no worse than anybody else's behavior, right? The Rebel was described as just as bad as her or worse. The Dominator is by and far, obviously, worse, even though their motivations are the same. But you can have a benevolent dictator, and then you can have an absolute asshole, right?
Yeah.
And I think I know which one's which when it comes to the lady versus the Dominator. I know who I would rather be in charge, too.
So yeah.
So they have 4 days.
Yep. They did the math. They figured how long it would take the ship and to get there.
Best case scenario.
Yeah, they based it off their own best case scenario because they had such an easy time getting here.
Well, they better. They better because they don't know what kind of magical trick she has to, like, you know, whatever, blow wind in the sails. You know what I'm talking about? Like a ship mage?
Yeah, no, I totally read A Wizard of Earthsea.
Oh. I was thinking more like...
So did you, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was only the first one. But I was thinking like the ship mages on Atlas.
That's the one. That's the one with all the wind magic and ship magic.
Yeah, exactly. They have, you know, whatever mages that... No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. All right, so Hagup, Kingpin, One Eye, and Croaker are to search for Asa. These are their marching orders given to them by the lieutenant. Candy is going to take his men, and they're going to storm that ship, and they're going to take it tonight. 4 days to go. Get moving.
All right.
So, let's see.
So how do they find Asa? Because this guy is a little rat or cockroach that can crawl in any wall. Take forever to find him.
Well, I can tell you, but maybe you can tell me.
How
about Philip tells me?
Yeah, well, I was setting up.
I know you did a good job too.
Well, Kingpin has like a lot of context in the area, but
because he was here with Hagup, right? And
well,
they're the ones
Hagup, Kingpin, and One Eye, and
it was Kingpin and Pawnbroker that came down.
Oh, was it down
earlier?
Okay,
yes, they've been in town the longest.
They're the ones that set up Haddock, right?
Bullock,
I mean,
yeah.
His name.
What is wrong with you today? You're
These
getting the
names are
all
so
wrong.
hard, man.
You're getting all the names wrong.
I'm
Philip,
old.
go on. Let's go.
Well, ultimately, all of Kingpin's leads don't come up for anything highly productive. But
he's in town, though. They know that.
Yep, he is in town, and so they use Kingpin's knowledge. But One Eye says, well, he goes out on his own, more or less. He's like, I'll handle this. And so he starts doing these stage magics in the streets and entertaining all of these children. And then soon he has all of these like street urchins eating on the palm of his hands. Like, you want to know what's going on? These are the best spies there are in the city. And so he gets all these kids under his sway and then sends them out like little birds.
No, they lead him straight to... I mean, they literally lead the group to Asa's abode where he's sleeping.
Yep.
They already knew where he lived.
Yep.
It's just a matter of convincing them that they wanted to tell.
Yep.
And they did.
Yep.
I like how Croker writes that the urchins got their money's worth watching
$0.00
watching One Eye perform his tricks.
It's like my grandma. She says free advice is worth every penny. So wakey, Asa. Show us where Raven died.
He's all, we got something we need you to do. And he's all, why you always want something from me?
They're users.
Poor
yeah.
Asa.
Oh, but yeah, he's like, whatever. He's like passed out in this room, and there's some other guy passed out next to him in a pool of his own vomit. I'm like, this is disgusting.
They want, And there's also the he didn't use his money like Shed does. You know, he still lives like he always did, even if he has some cash on him.
And he does. We remember he got a good paycheck. He just couldn't spend it back in Juniper.
That's right.
All right, so he is more than happy to tell them exactly the information that they want, and then he pretends to go back to sleep.
He just like turns over and starts
like,
to
no, you're coming with us. And he's like, God, you guys are pushy.
Yeah. So he's been conscripted now.
He gets intimidated with magic again. Poor guy.
Because he threatens to scream out on the street.
Yep.
And then One Eye threatens
they
him
convince him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They convince him with magic, and he goes along with them. And all along the way, periodically, he'll be like, okay, well, I've gotten you this far. Can I go home now? I've gotten you this far. Can I go home now?
Can I stay back here?
Why do you not want to? Why do you try not to go out there so much? Why are you resistant to this idea of going out there so bad? And he's like, because there's another Black Castle out there.
He didn't know. Did he know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He had snuck out there to see if Raven was really dead because he was like, they don't believe the story. Maybe I shouldn't either. So he went back out there and he peeked into that clearing and saw the lump and he was like, I'm out. Bye-bye.
Because they, when he tells them that before they get to it, they're like, oh, this little rat.
One Eye is trying to kill him.
Yeah. And I mean, Croker doesn't want him dead yet.
All right. So there's this interesting moment. It was interesting to me. All right. So when they're getting really, really close and they know what's up ahead, what is his name? Hagup. He's a really, really good scout. And he's like, hey, guys, stop. We're following somebody. We're pretty close to them. And they're like, okay, well, let's proceed silently. And then Croker's like, no, not that kind of silent.
Magic.
You remember
silence. Magic silence.
He was gonna go kill Asa.
I didn't get that. Yeah. Let's move forward silently.
He's like, no, we're not. We don't want that kind of silent. We want you to proceed silently. So they sneak up to the old.
Well, we know.
Anyway,
we know who's there. Shed and his mule.
Shed and his mule are out in the clearing. So Croker waits for the right moment, and then he silently walks out there, puts his hand on Shed's shoulder. Shed bolts. He gets up, stumbles around, and then tries to run for it. And while he's doing that, Croker notices the pile of bones and begins to inspect it, while some other members of the Black Company round up Shed.
Dude, it's Raven. Croker's convinced it's Raven.
Well, it's all of his knives, it's his sword, it's his armor, it's his buttons.
It's his rings,
it's
on
everything.
His fingers.
All right, Chapter 44, Medenville, the Clearing. Croker gets Shed calmed down and explains their situation. They're looking for Darling, they have 4 days to do it, and then they're gone. The lady and the Taken are on their way, and they gotta go.
Shed's like, Darling can't be the White Rose.
I don't think he's even concerned about her, at all.
Well, he just didn't think that she would be
special in any way.
Yeah, special. Yeah.
Yeah, he just wanted to hustle her upstairs, if you recall.
Mm-hmm. I recall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not then, but once he hears the story.
That was more for our listeners than for you.
Oh, got you.
But...
Well, I'll be quiet then.
No. It's funnier when there's a misunderstanding between us.
Well, even Croker recognizes that Shed has grown as a person in his interactions with him, his interrogation. And
explain why, though. I know what you're doing, and I understand, and I totally approve. But the thing that should be mentioned first and foremost is that Shed is concerned about the Black Castle. He's like, what are you going to do about that? And then Croker's like, the dude has grown. He's interested in something besides saving his own skin. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right, go for it.
Oh, all right, well. Okay, let me get it.
So Shed is not concerned about Darling.
Yeah, Shed is not concerned about Darling, but he does spill his guts on why he's there. Croker wants to know why he's there. And Shed is very, very overt about saying that he's like, this is a problem. I want to solve this problem. There's a Black Castle right here, and it's going to be Juniper all over again, and I want to stop it.
And what are you going to do about it, is what he says.
Well, it's true. I mean, there's only so much he can do. I don't think he can do anything, but he thinks...
I don't think Croker can either, and probably the Black Company can't do either.
I didn't say I didn't want to do something. I said I can't. You don't ask a man with a penknife to chop down a forest and build a city. He doesn't have the tools.
I know someone who does.
Oh, who's that?
The lady.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
So Croker is going to pawn this off on the lady if he can, because they're not capable of dealing with it, which we've already seen. You know, they were in Juniper, and they had no effect on the Black Castle, right? All right, so Hagup shows Croker this strange trail in the grass. It's leading from approximately the heart of the pile of bones to where the lump now is growing.
He says, just the faintest hint of sheen, like an old snail track. A closer scrutiny showed that it should have started roughly where the corpse's heart would have lain. So, and the chest is apparently torn apart. So I have the impression that the heart, like, erupted out of the body, crawled over to where the black lump is, and became the new black lump.
Well, right. Is this like some sort of alien thing or something?
Yeah, well, something like that, yeah. Well, if you remember, like...
It's blood magic for sure, right?
Ace's original description of the death of Raven was that it's like there were snakes inside, like writhing around, trying to get out.
Ding, 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 ding.
And Shed's like freaking out when he hears this, right?
Hold on. Yule, isn't this what you guessed correctly?
That Raven was maybe killed by the
serpents eating him from the inside, and that it was associated with the Dominator and that pendant. Yeah, I think that you nailed this one, having not even read the book before.
Wow, look at me.
Good job, buddy.
Well, I mean, if that's really Raven. I mean,
it doesn't matter if it's Raven. That's how it happened, right? Yeah. It's like whatever Aces saw, he described it, and you guessed correctly.
All right, yay me!
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that is admirable, because
I appreciate.
I didn't get it right. Philip, I don't think got it right.
No.
I mean, and we've read the book before.
This prevents me from listening to any of the previous episodes, so I can remain this big head. Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Just in case it wasn't me.
All right, so Croker makes this leap of logic, and he asks the question, what could Raven have been wearing that would have become the lump or the new Black Castle?
Yeah, in fact, he's like, to Shed and to Asa, he wants them to remember anything that they can possibly remember, whether, it's going to be important or not. And I think it was Asa that comes up with the idea that he had the pendant on.
Well, Asa recognized that everything was there, just as Raven had been alive. His, like I said, buttons, the metal, everything was there except for one thing, the pendant. Asa recognized that, and he didn't put it all together, but he recognized it.
Well, he did understand its significance as soon as Croker asked the question, and he's like, the pendant. Right, that silver pendant, and then Shed freaks out.
Yeah, and Shed recognized it right then too.
And he's trying to yank this thing off, like physically, like he wants chain to break, and it won't.
Will not break.
I mean, it fits over his head, so like
Croker helps him take it off. Croker helps him take it off. Yeah, and then One Eye inspects the pendant.
Yeah, he's like looking at it. And
while he's looking at it, he throws it to the ground and jumps and squawks like a jackal, I think is the description.
That's just every time this happens, I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
I detect magic. I mean, it's just...
Reading it the second time, I'm like, oh, I see. And he just spotted his attacker before it happened.
There was a flash of light, and obviously the Dominator has learned from past mistakes. Deal with the wizards first. Because in the last episode that we recorded, the Dominator did not account for One Eye. Twice. Yule, you were very fond of pointing this out, and you were right to do so. You were correct.
Yeah, One Eye saved the company twice.
He saved the company 3 times. But the Dominator learned a valuable lesson, and he tried to get One Eye out of the fight. He was just unsuccessful. So when the Black Company members, Croker, etc., turn, they see next to the black lump, there are 2 of these castle creatures, and they are frozen in mid-stride, charging towards them.
Out come the swords.
Yes, the Black Company response is immediate and rather effective. Very deadly.
Go for the vein in the neck. Go for the vein in the neck. Even Shed gets in on it.
Oh, yeah.
Again, another, and it's commented like, oh my goodness, I can't believe Shed did this.
I can't believe Shed did it either, to be honest.
And he went for a hamstring. So it's like he went down low and he was cutting hamstrings. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this sounds like one of those battles where there's one guy and there's like 8 people around that one person. That's kind of how there's not that many people there, but I had the impression they were just like completely surrounded and being hacked to bits. But it
was like 2 against 5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah, but it said they were hard to die.
They were stubborn about it, but they died.
And
they died.
When they die,
Shed?
one specific one is like, we're going to remember you, Marin Shed.
I don't remember if that's good or bad.
I don't think it's good because he was involved in killing them.
Yeah, they know they're going to remember him for what he has done.
Betrayal.
And it's not. Yeah, of course they're not going to remember all the things that he did for them back in Juniper. That's old news. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, that's fake news.
That's fake news.
That's fake news.
Never happened.
Never happened.
They're
also identical.
They're identical.
They're clones.
Because Shed says, "Oh, this is the one I've." The reason why he said my name, like, how do you know my name? This is the one I've been dealing with all that time back in Juniper, and it's like, well, with all the ones that they had, it's really unlikely that the one that you dealt with would be the one that we killed right now,
and the one that got away, because only one got out of Juniper that they were aware of.
And then they realize, oh wait, these guys look alike, and oh well, it looks just like the one that we examined back in Juniper.
Yeah, Croker recognizes that they're all identical down to the scar on their chest. But Shed's like, well, did they just like hide in the forest and wait for something like this to happen? Explain this to me, guys, because I'm not getting. Does the Black Castle create these? I mean, does it like?
I'm guessing yes. It does.
Is it where it's?
They're clones. It's cloning its entity. It's cloning these. Like they're not locals from when we were back up in Juniper, right? Mm-hmm. And it had been there for ages and ages and ages. Those weren't citizens of Juniper that had been, converted. They were, loyal servants of the Dominator. He was either creating them or resurrecting them or cloning. He's a necromancer.
Or summoning them into existence from another dimension. I don't know how they get. I don't know.
Why was there a different bodied one that one time with Shed?
Yes, he said that every time he had dealt with them, he had dealt with the same one except for one time. And I'm still confused about what that was about. Like, why did we encounter the short, wide one? Why was he different? Maybe he's the only one that's real. I don't know. We don't have answers. We can just speculate. That's all we can do.
Well, I wonder, when you clone them, do they share their memories, or do they have a hive?
They seem to. They know his name.
Yeah. Do they have a hive mentality of, like, when one learns something, they all know that? Well, we don't know, but either way, it's this detail that I don't comprehend, but it's very enticing, and
it's unlikely that Glen Cook will not answer this detail for us. He usually answers these questions.
That's fine. And if you remember, like, time and time again, we have these questions, and then we read the book later, and those questions will be answered.
Right. Okay, so while they're wearing off the shakes, the fighting's done, they're calming down, One Eye asks Hagup, hey, did you see anything on this body, maybe, that was, that looked like this? And he holds up the amulet, and he's like, it killed this person, And Hagup's like, gulp, yeah. And he pulls it out of his pocket, and he hangs up the emerald, he hangs up the pendant. It doesn't have emerald eyes anymore, but it's exactly the same. It was the one that Raven was wearing.
Yeah. So
this is the thing that I did not understand.
Yeah.
And also, Asa's memory would not have been jarred if Hagup hadn't stolen the pendant. Because they would have seen everything there on the ground, and it would have been like, I don't know what he could have been wearing. That's all of his stuff. I see it right there.
Right.
But it was because Hagup has avarice and greed, and he wanted that pendant because it's real silver. And One Eye was smart enough to recognize that Hagup was like that and might have been a little klepto about that pendant. He's like, silver, and he looks at him meaningfully. Mm-hmm. That was what was confusing to me.
Exactly.
But it all makes perfect sense if you just read the book 3 times.
Yes. But yeah, I know. But even then, they had to draw it out of him because he didn't want to be caught literally red-handed.
It was because he said that it killed him. And he's like, gulp, and he pulls it out of his pocket. Like, I don't want to die.
But Croker has this chilling thought at this point in time, doesn't he?
He has several chilling thoughts, and the first is, it's time to go. They were planning on camping out here, and he's like, the camping trip is over, kids. We're going home, back to the city.
So they're 19 miles, and they were planning on camping out here, because they've spent pretty much almost all day getting here and exploring the area. They come out here, and they were planning on, One Eye has just done an all-nighter. He's exhausted. He literally doesn't want to take another step, and he's like, they had previously thought they would camp out here. But considering the Black Lump is there and they just got attacked, they're like, no way in heck are we staying here. So let's just force march and get all the way back to the safety and security of Medenville.
He said the light.
The light?
Mm-hmm. The light of Medenville, I think. Hagup is quick to point out that there are many footsteps leading into the hole which will become the gate of the castle. There's more than 2 of these creatures. So that's probably a really good idea.
So Croker starts thinking about how the Dominator is getting out there.
Sowing his seed.
He's sowing the seeds in the field of the world, and he's doing that with the pendants that he's putting out there. And he starts thinking about the greed and avarice of soldiers. And when they get into the Black Castle, they're going to see all these silver medallions out there. And seeds of a tree might get picked up by a bird, or it might not actually get fertilized. But one of those eventually is going to get fertilized.
Yeah, millions of seeds.
That's what he's thinking. He's like, well, maybe ravens here won't happen this time, but where aren't we?
Right.
And where isn't the lady going to be? And then what's going to happen?
How many soldiers went in there, or looters, or whoever else went in and picked up these valuable pendants and stuck them in their pockets and didn't tell anybody because,
it's their loot. Why would they share that information? Mm-hmm. We don't share that information. This section, 1, terrifying, but 2, it got me to thinking, what happened to the Black Company soldiers that didn't get to leave that battle?
You mean like Elmo?
Like Elmo.
Well, his name gets brought up in a second.
Well, I mean, if they're alive, like, what becomes of them?
Well, if the lady wins...
She did.
Then I guess nothing happens to Elmo, other than he's still hanging with the
We have 2 Black Companies now?
People. Yeah, maybe.
We have a Black Company in the north and a Black Company in the south, and every now and then they go and play a football game together and...
Maybe.
I don't
go about their way.
I don't know. I mean, I was in the impression that, like almost no one survived in Juniper. Like, it was devastating.
I mean, all we're hearing is rumors right now.
True.
We just don't know. But in order for this to work, what we're talking about with the Dominator casting his seeds out, they have to have survived in order for Croker's fears to become realized.
That's also true. Yes.
So I'm going to assume some of them survived and maybe took the pendants and maybe didn't tell anybody about it. And that's a scary thought.
And not just took it for themselves, but, they traded it for drink or gambling debts or a fancy...
God only knows, man. God only knows.
They literally are dispersing like coconuts in the sea.
Oh, yeah, sure. Or cottonwood.
Yeah, cottonwood. What I really had in mind was ash trees with spiraling seeds coming down. They just go everywhere. But yes, scary. Yeah.
Well, Croker says that he's got a little more respect for the Dominator now. He's a crafty bastard. Chapter 45, Medenville, Hot Trail.
Hot cops.
Back in Medenville, after dark, many of the Black Company are off taking Raven's ship. when Croker realizes that Silent is headed to his death.
Yeah, he's tracking Raven's trail, right? He's trying to...
Yeah. He's going everywhere Raven went. It's like he's following a direct line, and that's all he can see is the line. So he's going to end up walking right into that clearing where the lump is, where the new Black Castle is, and he's not going to be forewarned, and he's going to be basically alone.
So Croker's like, he's got to wake one eye up. Is he awake?
I don't think he ever went to sleep.
He wants to go to sleep. He wants to eat. He wants to go to sleep. All that stuff. And he's like, come on, our buddy's going to be killed if you don't do this.
I mean, he's okay with it. He doesn't want Silent to die either. So he pulls this little finger thing out of his bag, and he goes and he does a little magic. And he's like, all right, I know where he is. I'll go get him. I should make you come with me.
You say a finger thing.
It was a desiccated finger.
It was a finger.
It's like, is that Silent's finger?
Like, I don't know, but either way, they can obviously contact each other with it.
It's like he must have used to own that finger, because that's how they locate each other, is by getting something that the other person owned or part of their body.
And then if a coming to, I assume he's saying, hey, One Eye saying to Croker, come on, I should make you come with me. And he's talking about, like, as he's, like, casting the spell or something like that.
He's so tired.
Because it's probably disgusting what has to happen with this finger or something, maybe.
That's not what I was getting
That's kind of what
that.
I was thinking. Like, this is like a pain in the ass, and you should be here with me for it.
I think he just wanted him to come along to torture him, because he's going to have to leave the comforts of the fireplace in the inn that they're staying at and go trekking out and find Silent and bring him back.
Because Croker just stays and has a beer.
I know.
With Shed. Yeah, he has a beer with Shed. All right, so they're sharing the beer before a fire, Shed and Croker. And Croker recognizes that Shed is kind of on a mission, that he wants to right the wrongs of the world, and he just doesn't have the heart to tell him about the tree seeds thing that he's thinking is probably likely to happen. He doesn't want to burst his bubble, as it were. But Croker's on a mission too. His mission is a beer mission. He's drinking lots and lots of beer because beer makes him sleepy. But it also makes him have to pee. So he goes to pee, and then he goes to bed. And though sleep is very hard to come by right now for some reason, eventually the lady comes to his dreams again.
Well, he starts thinking before he falls asleep, or maybe that's as he's falling asleep. He's not sure what he's doing at that moment. He starts thinking about all the things he wants to say, or he starts saying all the things he wants to say to the lady, even though she's not necessarily there. And then that's when she kind of comes in, right?
The glow, the nimbus, that golden light shows up in his dream, and he spills his guts about the Dominator and the seeds. But he doesn't say anything about Raven. He doesn't say anything about Shed. And he's like, yeah, so some citizen of Juniper had one of these medallions, or no names, though.
Well, I think that was awesome. I didn't realize that effectively Croker summoned the lady, and she came. Even after she had harsh words to him last time they talked.
She identified him as an enemy the last time they spoke.
But she still came.
Yeah, she did, which was awesome. It was awesome. So they are connected in some way. She can tell when he wants to talk to her in his dreams. She can tell. So that
she's keeping tabs on him.
And she's kind of hot.
Go, Croker!
Yeah, buddy. You should write some more fantasies about this lady.
He tries to get his guts. Oh, go for it. Sorry.
No.
You go.
Yo, come on, bro. I spend more time talking than either one of you.
I was gonna say that he tries to fish for information. He's all like, you're on your way here,
right?
Yeah. She doesn't say anything to him.
She just grins.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're on your way here, right?
Well, she's fishing too. She's like, well, where will you be? And he's like, long gone.
Yeah.
He tells her that we cannot handle the Black Castle, but maybe you can. And we are going to leave a pendant, an active pendant with the ruby eyes, where you will be able to find it. And then she, in parting, says, "I owe you one, physician."
What does that mean?
I don't know. You could take it either way.
When I hear "I owe you one," I'm thinking I'm getting rich or I'm getting screwed.
He just did her a super solid.
I know. Well, I don't think she...
She didn't know.
Yeah.
They identified a new Black Castle. Boom. One thing that's awesome to know on her part. Like, she's very grateful for that information. 2, the means by which he's spreading his seed around, no pun intended, through those medallions. He's leaving one for her. I doubt she's going to have trouble finding all of them now. You know, she's going to see one and she's going to be like, identify, locate object. Boom. There it is. Mine.
Yep.
Destroyed.
Try to find them all. And I mean, if you think about it, even if she knew even if she knew that these pendants were the seeds, she'd have no idea of finding them all or what these seeds look like. And now Croker did her a solid. Much less, how the heck is she just going to find this new Black Castle out in the middle of nowhere
with no carpet?
Yes, without any context or any visuals or eyewitnesses. So yeah, he did her a solid.
Big time. So I think she appreciates that, and I've never really taken her as being particularly evil. Like, have we seen her do anything truly evil besides murder her sister? I mean, she did shoot her in the back and like all that kind of stuff, but they're sisters.
Technically, her sister betrayed her.
Yeah, I know.
But still, she was gleefully took out her vengeance on her sister.
She cut her head off. Well, I guess Croker did that part, but she was very happy about it.
No, but I do envision her as being just...
she's a sociopath. No big deal.
Blatantly ruthless. Yes, a sociopath. Yes. That is that is a good word.
It doesn't necessarily mean she's evil. It just means she doesn't really care about how other people feel. And she's really good at hiding it. Maybe she can't be a sociopath, actually, because... No, she can fake it. She can fake it. I think she could fake it. Well, anyway, shortly after sunrise, the dream has ended, and One Eye has returned with Silent. And they don't get any sleep now either. He's like, get on the road, we gotta go. Because now they've got Silent and Otto, they gotta bust out back to that clearing and do it all over again. It's like, holy smokes, poor One Eye. It's like 2 days with no sleep.
This is the part I was thinking of. Yeah, here's where he has gone at least 24 hours without sleep, and they just ask him to keep going.
At least 24, yes. Probably 36 or more.
Yes.
And he's like, sleep in the saddle.
You said you're great at it. You know,
yeah.
This is what your one talent is, sleeping in the saddle.
So they get back there a lot faster. They've got Shed and Asa with them. They've got that whole gaggle of people now, like we mentioned. And they're out there much quicker than they had been before. They've even got Shed on an actual horse now. Mm-hmm. The dead creatures are gone. They've been dragged into the lump. And Silent quickly locates Raven's trail away from there. So that is not Raven. Raven continued on. So that's somebody else. They don't know who it is, but they're wondering, who is this corpse? And then Croker wonders, why on earth is Raven's plan and the Dominator's plan dovetailing so perfectly? How is it possible that Raven could consider the Dominator's plan in his plan?
Wait a minute.
It's mind-blowing.
I'm still not convinced that, I mean, this is Raven, right?
Not according to Silent. According to Silent, Raven left that clearing and took off.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. This is where.
Remember, he's able to follow his trail.
Yes, and this is where that. Well, this was the linchpin moment where everybody was convinced that the dead corpse was Raven. It looks like Raven. It has this Raven stuff.
Croker wasn't convinced, and even Asa was coming around to Croker's way of thinking.
But Silent puts the matter to rest, and he says no. He went that way.
He didn't say shit.
Okay, that's a good point. He
signs something to Croker, and Croker's like, I don't know how I feel about this. That means Raven murdered somebody. Raven murders people all the time. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but
it's completely normal. What's the matter, Croker?
But up until this point, I was convinced that this dead body was Raven. I mean,
I was becoming more and more convinced as the time went on. Initially, I was like, there's no chance that Raven died. And then you read a chapter and you're like, well, kind of doesn't seem like he got away. And subsequent chapter, all of his clothes, his gear, his rings, his weapons. He would never part with his weapons.
And ate.
But how did he do this? I mean,
that's the question. How did the Dominator do it? And then how did Raven know what the Dominator was going to do well enough to utilize him in his plan? He outsmarted the Dominator. Used
Raven
the Dominator.
has ways of doing tricks, but it's not magic, right?
Don't know.
You think
he does have tricks? It's mentioned in this chapter that he used to entertain Darling with these tricks, but it didn't seem like it was magic. It seemed like they all acknowledged they were tricks. Like he could summon the knife into his hand. It's just sleight of hand.
Yes.
But like One Eye is like, I think it's One Eye. He doesn't know how he did it. He can't figure out how he does it.
Mm-mm. No.
Oh,
well, I have
a
I have a random question now. So, do you think that Raven was protected from this fate by his proximity to Darling, and as soon as he
absolutely
and as soon as he gave his stuff away, boom.
I'm just thinking like Darling wasn't with him when he was dying, and I should say him in quotes also.
The real question is, how did he swap his stuff to another person and fool Asa?
Yeah.
How did Asa not know that it wasn't Raven?
It must have been somebody that looked exactly like Raven, wearing all of his gear and all of his clothes, and then for whatever reason, this was the right place, and then the seed took effect and killed that person and became the new tower. And Raven knew that was going to happen?
But like, if somebody gives you all of your stuff, are you gonna just like put it on and say,
burn it, sell it, whatever?
I'm not gonna wear somebody's old clothes. All right, I mean,
it's very important you wear this medallion, though. That's the important thing right here.
Sue put it on too.
Oh well, Sue did because it was a gift from Shed, but that was a slightly different. But I'm talking about the rings, the weapons.
You know what? I agree with you. I don't know how he did it, but it doesn't matter. It could have been a threat. It could all sorts of things. But let's get to the end and then we can discuss, because right now we don't even know who this guy is. The path leading away, Raven's trail, as it were, they follow this. And he took the long way. But he's always heading westerly. And eventually, after many, many miles, 10 miles or something like that, they come to a crest and they can see, oh, there's the main road. There's a building down there that doesn't look like a house. I bet you that's an inn. I bet you he was headed there. So they do too. Out of the inn comes a fat, worried man strangling an apron. That's not a direct quote, but it's pretty close, and it was hilarious.
He was
very visible. You could see that.
Well, but he's an innkeeper. Why should he freak out because a couple of travelers come by?
Because his daughters were out prior to this, and they saw this motley-looking crew coming up, and they're probably up to no good. And so he had to come out and like suss the situation.
They're heavily armed.
Yeah.
They're obviously tough guys. Like, yeah, that's concerning. You don't know who they're not militia. And Croker's like, look, we're not bandits. We literally just want some food and a place to rest and some wine and some beer. Like, yeah, we want that too.
He's like, oh, we're tracking somebody. And he's like,
it's this guy's daughter, I think he said.
He's like, you're obviously not the prince.
Silent's daughter.
Yeah, you're obviously not the prince's guards.
He didn't say that, but he thought it. And he's smart not to say it, right? Well, after all of them have eaten, most of them go up to rest and sleep. And the innkeeper becomes much more relaxed because I guess the threat is much less. So he chats with Croker, and Croker kind of interrogates him. He's like, he explains, I'm looking for a guy. He looks like this. He might have been here with a woman that looks like this who was a mute. And the guy obviously remembers Raven, but he doesn't want to talk. So Silent, who's sitting in front of the fire, cross-legged, hunched over, asleep. He's like, hey, Silent, come over here. Intimidate this guy for me. And he does. They do it all the time. They're kind of bullies.
Well, he does it by saying...
I would be too.
Croker has a great line. He's all, I know the guy that I'm looking for told you he would come back and slit your throat if you say anything about him. But let me tell you what my buddy here is going to do. All your cows are going to go sour. And this guy sets back some beers, this innkeeper. And he's all your ale, all your wine, it's all going to go flat, And just like, he hits him with everything. And like, dude's like, I'll tell you what you want to know.
And he does.
And he does.
Darling arrived in the morning after driving a wagon all night long. Raven showed up later in the evening, and they sat in a dark corner, and they left in the following morning. And it seems like they were headed to a place called Chimney based on the questions he asked the locals. Chimney is hella far away.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers being thrown in here, but basically we're looking at 4 months of travel, it sounds like.
It was nuts.
It was 90 days.
And we're going off, and yet it's 4 months, so explain that to me.
A lot of mountains, I guess.
No, 90 doesn't equal. It's not. The months aren't the same for our calendar. Our calendar can't be.
It doesn't matter.
I wasn't here.
There's rest days. There's things that slow you down. But you know what I really, really liked about this? This is because an innkeeper, but he's never left. But he hears a lot of travel, and like he picks things up by merchants that come through here. So he has this mental map of what lies beyond his world, and I really, really.
He's also seen a map.
He's seen a
before.
map, yeah.
And he saw a map. That is also true.
And it's nice because there's this little moment in here where they're talking about how they're creating the map, and he's saying, oh, a little bit bigger here, a little smaller here, tapered in here. Mm-hmm. It extends out here, and they kind of have a rough idea of where they're going to be going, and I did really like that.
I like this element because in reality, outside of the beauty of the internet and mass distributed maps that we have today, people relied on verbal descriptions to get from point A to point B.
There was a lot of that going on, if you think about it, because Bullock's description originally to Shed to describe where that clearing was, or at least the approximate location, it was a lot about this road until you get to a crossroads. There's a fallen tree. Don't mind it when it becomes a game trail. Just keep following it, stuff like that.
Yep.
A whole bunch of that kind of stuff. But Silent does draw a map. The innkeeper kind of nods or disagrees with it. They correct it as best they can, and they have a working idea of where Raven and Darling were headed. It's a long, long way away, and this is when Croker figures out, oh, the boat.
Yeah.
That's why the boat is still in the harbor. Raven needed a huge head start.
Well, I was wondering the same thing. I was like, if Raven was dead, why is the boat still here?
Well, the boat's still there because Raven's not there to drive it, right? Or be its captain. Possibly.
But what orders did he give them? Why are they still here? If he doesn't show up, do they abandon ship? Do they just?
Is the boat left behind for the rest of the Black Company to get on?
See, I want to believe that, but I don't think that's the case.
Because the way the map sounds like it's going, where Raven is going to end up is going to be at like a port, right?
It's a peninsula. He's on the end of a peninsula. And he's probably given orders for the people on the boat to come and pick him up after a certain amount of time. So 90 days or 120 days or whatever.
So basically he's walking the A and B of a right triangle, but the ship can go the hypotenuse, right?
Yes, right. Exactly. So I had the same thought that you did, Yule, that he had built the boat and then left it for the Black Company to escape, but it just doesn't line up very well. And then ultimately, when Croker figures it out, this part makes much more sense. But it's also awesome if the Black Company can all get back together on that big boat and start being pirates. That would be pretty neat.
Oh, a pirate story. Now that's the life for me.
Well,
I get it. I get it.
I liked that ride when I was a kid a lot.
For sure.
All right, so we know where they're going. We know that Raven's still alive. We know that he's with Darling. We know that they've escaped, and they're going to get picked up by their boat. But guess who's got the boat? The Black Company has the boat.
All right.
So they need to get the message.
Won't Raven be surprised when that ship sails to the harbor?
Hey, Raven. Hey, coincidence again. So the final moments of this chapter have Croker asking the innkeeper, "Have you noticed anything odd lately?" And the innkeeper responds, "Besides you, no." Not really.
He's like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I have seen something odd today.
He's like, well, my buddy, there's a hunter who lives in the area who's a little late showing up. He usually gets his provisions right around now. In fact, I thought your buddy, Raven, was he when he came in.
Oh, I didn't get that, but I bet Raven was wearing the hunter's clothes.
And the hunter was wearing Raven's clothes, and their bodies are shaped similarly enough that they could be mistaken for one another.
Oh.
Hence Asa mistook him for... So I don't know how that worked out. I have no idea, but somehow Raven effected a switcheroo that fooled Asa. So they must not have been traveling close together. You know what I mean? I don't know. So anyway, Croker asks to be roused at first light, and then they're out of there. And that closes the chapter.
And now, are they on their way to chase down Raven, or are they going back to the boat?
I would assume that they're going to go back to the boat. They still have months.
Yes. Well, they have to.
But if you're following the trail...
Well, okay, so...
I thought there might be a big old split up here is actually what I thought might be going on.
There might be, but they have to send somebody back to take a message, and I doubt they're going to keep Asa and Shed with them.
Yeah. So it's going to take, they estimate 90 days on foot, but only, let me see, I wrote it down for crying out loud. Oh, yes. 90 days on foot or 100 hours by boat.
I would take the
So
boat.
it's 4 days. So 90 days on foot, 4 days by boat.
If you're trying to find Raven, though, you can't just wait for him, you know?
They can.
You got to get to him. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if they did it right, they would question the people on the boat and be like, "What were your orders?" Right? Get that information out of them and do exactly what Raven had asked them to do and show up, but not show themselves. And let Raven come aboard and then spring the surprise on him. Happy birthday, Raven!
First,
I fear for Shed if he has to walk back with Asa to give the news to the rest of the Black Company.
Shed has to stay because he has to help Bullock out.
Oh, Jesus.
He has to stay in town. But I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to follow Raven on horseback. Why?
Well,
Why spend all of those days doing that when you could just get on the boat? What? Just take a rest. Oh, they got to get out of there anyway because the lady's coming.
that's right.
They're leaving in 4 days on that boat, remember?
Well, they've already spent like 3 days now, right?
Yeah, well, that's fine. That means they go back
and leave.
They get on the boat. Gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you guys, like, honestly, I was absolutely convinced Raven was dead.
Yeah, I had come to that conclusion as well.
And I thought that was just dark writing, and you got to kill somebody off every now and then. And yeah. I honestly believe Raven was dead until Silence said, "No, man, he left," and that he went that direction.
And they followed him, and that's awesome. And I'm really happy that he's not dead. But at the same time, like, I don't know why. I root for Raven, even though I don't know why. He's not a great guy. He's just taking care of Darling. Does that make him a really good guy?
He's tough. He's self-controlled. Yeah. Come on. On some level, he taught you how to be a man.
The child in me is like, Raven's cool, right?
Yeah.
But the adult in me is like, no, Raven's kind of a bastard.
No, well, so, going back to where, Shed said, he taught me how to be a man. And
how to think like a man.
How to think like a man. And you guys were right, but the one thing I interpreted as is Raven taught Shed or encouraged Shed to act, don't react. I mean, forge your own destiny, whatever it is. Just be proactive about whatever you want to happen in life, and you'll get somewhere. But if you just let the world happen to you, you'll never get anywhere. That's kind of how I interpreted it, but. It was very nebulous, as you said. It's like, what does it mean to be a man?
Or to think like a man.
Or to think like a man.
Prostitutes are good.
well, I would say as a example of manhood, the old Shed was a really
not a great example.
It was a terrible example of what it means to be a man. Yeah.
Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward. Try not to be, at least. It's hard, though. When you're scared, and that's all there is to it. That concludes this episode 8. We have one episode to go. We will be covering, I don't remember.
The 46th chapter to the end.
46 to 49.
That's right.
The last 4 chapters. Is that right?
46 to 49.
Yeah, last 4 chapters. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We'll see you then. Welcome back to the Black Company, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.